hear you're ready for your dose of reality. Welcome to the returning Dr. Quack podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. It's not like we went anywhere. We just had a lot of other things to do. There was so much garbage out there in the real world today. We just needed to kind of focus on the real world. But we're back, and boy, do we have an oddball.
Oh, man. This episode now contains the Attitude Era. Well, the very edge of it, right?
This is the end of the Attitude Era, the beginning of the end of the Monday Night Wars. We're not quite yet to get the F out. This is a really odd time because we only have one wrestling company that is of any consequence, and it's WWF.
See, I was excited when I first said, hey, we're going to watch this pay-per-view because I was thinking we were going to watch Survivor Series 2001, but we're watching this.
Yes. It is Invasion 2001, and the reason that this was voted for in this, I made the deciding vote. Spank me again. Thank you. The Champions Showcase is coming up where we're going to have 6 companies compete for promo unity. We thought we'd show something about wrestling unity here, and boy, This is not the right example of how to do it.
Yeah. July 22nd, 2001 from Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this is 4 months after the World Wrestling Federation bought out WCW and 5 months after they had bought the material of ECW, although it still kind of existed. So this is the first pay-per-view where we actually have the companies feuding.
From the famous Gun Arena.
I'm sorry, Cleveland, that you had to deal with it. Buy Boss's merch. He's from Cleveland.
Yeah, somebody do that. But yeah, the 10 to 17,000 buy rate. People were excited. This was a high point for wrestling.
And this is one more thing here. They had a pre-show match, and we normally don't do the pre-show matches. We're just going to discuss this one. The pre-match was Chavo Guerrero versus Scotty 2 Hotty, with WCW getting a win because they kept track of this stuff throughout the night. So after the pre-show, WCW already had one win.
Yes. But what I'm going to get into before we get into this show, here we go. We got on commentary, we had Jim Ross with Michael Cole.
And you could barely hear him the whole night. So it was a mixed blessing.
Spanish commentators, of course, Carlos Cabrera and Hugo Sanovich.
And they were their usual Spanish announce table. Their table got destroyed. Poor Carlos got hit and rolled over a little bit by Kane, but they're always great. We got nothing but love for the Spanish announce team.
And now the referees. Yeah, there was actually some that are not listed on here, but we have Mike Chioda, Jack Doan, Jim Corderas, Teddy Long, Mick Foley, Chad Patton, Charles Robinson, Tim White, and of course there's other ones later tonight.
Yeah, as we get into one of the other matches, they brought the entire contingent out.
Yes, even dark match referees they were there. Ring announcer, of course, the great Howard Finkel.
As great as always, rest in peace, Howard Finkel.
Moving along here, first match on the actual card. Edge and Christian taking on Lance Storm and Mike Awesome for the ECW.
This one was actually, I was kind of looking forward to this one. Lance Storm and Mike Awesome actually were a decent team. This is back when Edge and Christian reeked of awesomeness, when they really caught their stride. There was a twin botch that went on where Mike Awesome didn't catch Lance Storm very well, and then Christian tried to jump off Edge's back and caught the top rope. Apparently he was okay. He finished the match. But all in all, this match was decent. It was a fast-paced match. It was almost like they booked it a little too much. There was too much going on at the end. There were people jumping in, people jumping out. So there was a lot going on at the end, but I did go 3 stars. I thought it was a good open.
See, I went 2 3/4 just because of that botch. I had to take a little bit back. But outside that, the fans were into this match. It was a very good open for 2001. I will definitely say that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was a great start to the feud. Then it's kind of hit and miss from there.
Yeah. The second match here, we've got the referees match representing the WWF. We have Earl Hebner taking on Nick Patrick with special guest referee Mick Foley.
As I made note of this when we were watching this in the office, one of the things I never ever thought I'd see in wrestling was a referee versus a referee match with a retired wrestler as the referee. Never thought I'd see it, but excuse me. In retrospect, this match, I didn't expect much, but it was actually fun. It was short. You could tell the referees didn't, they played it up well, that they pretended not to like each other. I went 2 1/4. I actually, for the 3 minutes and some odd seconds this thing took out of my life, it's not like I wanted it back, so 2 1/4.
I went 2 stars. I mean, it was positive, though, because you got to see a bunch of referees that were this feud was great. That's what I loved about it. The feud in the back, about the referees cheating their other wrestlers out and everything. But I'll give it. Earl Hebner had some great kicks in there. His punches weren't the best, and that finish was pretty awful, but everything in between wasn't bad.
Yeah, and Nick Patrick, you could tell Nick Patrick was a worker. He did wrestle for a short period of time. You could tell he's the one that was helping make this match look good. And then he took a great Sacco from Mick Foley and really sold the hell out of it. So all in all, like I said, it was only 3 minutes long. You didn't miss much, but I also didn't need it back, so I went 2 1/4.
Yeah, this whole pay-per-view, for the most part, for me, was not extremely memorable, but it wasn't horrible, if that makes sense. Next match here we've got, oh, wait a minute, let me not forget about this, because we had a DDP sighting in between this show. You want to tell them about it?
No, but I will anyway. So, in the start, for those of you that missed this, either because you were too young or because you were smart enough not to watch it, when they brought Diamond Dallas Page over from WCW to WWF, they started out with somebody was stalking The Undertaker and his wife at the time, Sarah, who they referred to after this as Sarah Undertaker, like Undertaker was his last name. So anyway, we find out the stalker is Diamond Dallas Page. And Diamond Dallas Page got his ass hooked by The Undertaker. Hooked. Like a 2.5 minute match, and Diamond Dallas Page's only offense was he was running. So this time, Diamond Dallas Page had kidnapped Deborah, Steve Austin's wife. And Steve Austin was in a bad place, and so Deborah was in a bad place. Deborah's sitting and talking at the table with Sarah. Looking at her, she was a Halloween mask on legs.
Oh my God, yeah, that was a whole nother story. I mean, I thought it was a stupid angle because you had a qualified champion in DDP who just came from WCW, and you bring him in to do this. This is something you do to Simon Dean. You don't do this to Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, when WCW bought WWF, they had 3 credible people that they could have brought in. 3. 2 of them were there, Booker T and Diamond Dallas Page. The third one chose not to, and that was Jeff Jarrett. Those were the 3 people who were quality. They said no to Goldberg right away, believe it or not. When it first started out in 2001, they said no to Goldberg. But they had 3 people, Diamond Dallas Page, Booker T, and Jeff Jarrett. And look who they treated the worst. So anyway, now we've got to go on to the match.
Yeah. The APA here, Farouk and Bradshaw taking on Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare.
Yeah, this was tag team champ versus tag team champ. No titles, just glory, as they called it, just bragging rights. The APA was kind of the ringleaders as far as, Bradshaw was the motivator, always giving the speeches and all that. And it's obvious he really didn't like WCW in real life because he no-sold this entire match. He made this match look horrible because he wouldn't sell. He'd get hit and he'd turn around and punch people back. Bradshaw didn't really help this match. Palumbo and O'Haire lost to the APA. It was sloppy and forced. There wasn't a lot of chemistry there. I don't know if that was because Bradshaw was being his usual ass self. I went 2.25.
Yeah, I went 2 stars. Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Haire just never really impressed me no matter where they were at.
I always was a fan of Sean O'Haire. He had a great look, had a great physique. He was a great guy moving around the ring. It's just for some strange reason he never caught on, and I don't know why, but he never did.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like either he worked crappy opponents or they just didn't mesh well. Like, Fluke and Bradshaw, they're definitely, top quality opponents.
And there it is.
That's the way it works.
So by the way, that brings us up now to 3 WWF, 1 WCW.
Oh, yeah, you can see WCW throughout this show panicking at this point. But you had Billy Kidman taking on X-Pac, WCW versus WWF.
Yeah, this is another one that X-Pac came from WCW to WWF right after the breakup of the NWO. And he's another one you could tell he didn't like WCW. He basically phoned this match in. Billy Kidman tried hard to make this match mean something. X-Pac didn't care. The "you suck" chants are always appropriate when it comes to X-Pac, but I did go 3 stars. Billy Kidman really worked hard to make this match good and mean something, so I'm giving 3 stars just to Billy Kidman wrestling a broomstick.
Yeah, because this actually was one of the higher points on this show as far as matches go. They set it up in the back where Paul Heyman's Shane McMahon's talking to Billy Kidman there, trying to get it up. Stephanie's stressing out, and then he just win, and yeah, they got it.
Yeah. So like I said, 3 stars for Billy Kidman wrestling a broomstick.
Yeah, moving along here, we've got Raven from ECW taking on William Regal. This was a weird contrast of styles.
And we got a Curly sighting. By the way, those of you that don't know, I call Taz Curly because when you listen to him when he does commentary, all you think of is the Three Stooges. Yeah, I suck. But Raven and William Regal didn't really work.
No, they didn't.
I'm going to say this. If we could go back in time and see Scotty the Body, Johnny Polo, that style working with William Regal, I think would have been a great match. I almost feel like these guys almost tried too hard to make this match work, and they contradicted each other. It was kind of underwhelming for 2 guys who actually were known for their working ability.
Yeah.
I went 1 3/4. It didn't work.
Yeah, I went 2 stars. It was 2 great names. The fans were into this, but not really hugely into this. It kind of tapered down throughout the match. It needed work. It was, a contrast of styles. They didn't mesh really well, so I'm not going to hold it against them.
So now we're 3-3.
But now we're going to get my 2-finger salutes. And this one here goes to the 6-man tag. And by the way, 1 man out of the 6 is in the Hall of Fame because of a group, not individual. Talking about Chris Kanyon, Hugh Morris, and Sean Stasiak taking on Albert Big Show and Billy Gunn. The one Billy Gunn.
Yeah.
Because we all love the one Billy Gunn.
I was cheering for the Mecca of manhood. Fully facetious, folks. Fully facetious. Yeah, Big Show, who at this point was not... He didn't really have a good stroll here. He'd come out of Valentine's Day Massacre 98, and he kind of floundered a little bit. Didn't know what to do with him. The one Billy Gunn. And oh, by the way, Albert is the Intercontinental Champion. Both of us looked at each other and went, when did he win it? Who did he beat it from? Who did he lose it? When did that happen?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was a 2-week span. Might have been more. Somebody correct me in the comments.
All right. Taking on the Mecca of Manhood, who we made fun of in our Greed review. Sean Stasiak, who, again, was such a talent they turned him into meat. And he got a boner on TV. Chris Kanyon, Champagne. He was just plain old Chris Kanyon. This is the best version of Chris Kanyon in a long time. So this actually was a good one for Chris Kanyon. He kind of held this thing together. And Hugh Morris, this was... He retired shortly after this, and we know why. This was a cluster. You can add the rest later.
This was a can of ass.
This wasn't even that. This was a holy cup of spilled cluster. Oh, man.
Yeah, I went 1.5 stars on this match. This was just god-awful. They didn't work well. It seemed like they didn't really want to be there. They were there like, okay, we're going to get our paycheck, and then we're soon going to leave the WWE because nobody wants us here.
Yeah. The Mecca of Manhood versus the one Billy Gunn that I never wanted to see for 500, Alex.
Right, because the only people that stuck around was Albert, who joined X Factor, Big Show, who had a good career, and Billy Gunn, who eventually dropped off, I believe, the next year.
No, he was around for a few more years.
A year or
off
two.
And on. He was around off and on for another couple of years, and then he was gone. Albert became an actually really good trainer.
Yes.
He also came back as Lord Tensai.
Reasons!
1 star. To belabor this any longer is just...
Oh, God. And now the next match here. Speaking of Curly, we have Taz taking on Tajiri.
Yeah, I'm a big, huge Tajiri fan. I've always liked Tajiri. I'm not a big fan of little guys who are ass kickers. Tajiri is a big exception to that rule because he's not whooping your ass straight into your face. He's kicking the crap out of you from a long distance, so it's believable. For you little guys that want to be ass kickers, learn how to do it to make it make sense. Low key.
Dang. Well,
so anyway, I'm going to go on. I know now, after watching this match, I know now why they moved Curly behind a desk. Because when you watch this match, he had Kerry Von Erich syndrome. He was a big fish in a small pond. You bring him to a big pond, and he's a guppy. He could not slow down. He couldn't listen. He kept throwing people around. He didn't want to play nice, so they took him out of the ring to protect the wrestlers. But I did go 2 1/4. The ending got the extra quarter, where all of a sudden Tajiri sprays up into his face and gave him that nice kick. That was a really nice ending. I like that. I went 2 1/4.
Yeah, I can go with that. 2 1/4 sounds good for me. Yeah, I mean, I loved ECW back in the days. I loved when they worked, but it was when they, got here where it started to really change. Of course, when ECW was re-brought over here, watered down 06 ECW from WWE with Do-Rag McMahon, yeah, that's when it really got crappy. But you can see the point starting to turn here.
Yeah, and this is still when they kind of played ball. The WCW guys that came in that were only WCW had a hard time transitioning. Booker T's an exception. But a lot of these guys had a hard time transitioning. And proof positive of that is when Buff Bagwell showed up and got shown the door when he got a main event shot. They couldn't adapt to the more rigid style and leadership of the WWF. And some of this stuff kind of showed that. This pay-per-view kind of was doomed because they hadn't taken the time to make sure the WCW people understand how WWF works.
That's what happens. But now I'm going to go to my Quack Attack, because this match here, to me, was one of the best matches. I love my hardcore wrestling, and you had 2 of the best here that knew how to work here. Rob Van Dam, taking on Jeff Hardy. I mean, this was definitely one of those matches that I enjoyed. I loved watching. They knew how to work each other. They knew how to, work weapons. They didn't go out there and just hit everything in 5 minutes. They actually milked it, which is amazing because a lot of hardcore guys did not back in those days.
That's true. And we're going to give a shout out to our trainer here, the Necro Butcher. Necro Butcher always taught us you don't need to use a weapon just to use a weapon. This match was proof positive of that. They didn't pull out the first plunder until like 9 minutes into this match.
Right. They milked it, and they worked it well.
And they still used very little. They used a ladder, a chair, and I think one other thing. It was just 3 tiny little things for this hardcore match. Got a little blood out of Jeff Hardy.
Yes.
Just a little, but enough to add to it. The title. The title was the third thing. They were using the title in the match as well. I went 3.5. This was a solid fight. RVD and Jeff Hardy had great chemistry. 2 high-flying guys who could work well on the mat. Their styles, because they were both oddball styles, actually gelled really well. I went 3.5.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Definitely. This was a quality match. This was, one of the high points of the show, definitely. If you haven't seen this match up close, make sure you check that out. Because this match, if you're working any kind of garbage wrestling, if you're thinking I want to go to like GCW or anything like that, this is the correct way to do it.
Yes, definitely.
But let's move on here because we got something out of the rarity. We've got the bra and panties match between Trish Stratus and Lita taking on Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler. I'm not really trying to spray it because I thought it was phenomenal, but in the respectable thing, I think, yes, this needs to be sprayed.
All right, so we get the preview match, and I'm sorry that I'm not built like Tori Wilson, but Tori Wilson talking about her boss's breasts and looking at Stacy Keibler and her long legs. It was almost exploitation television. That's how horrible it was. And you could tell Tori was into it. Stacy's not a great actor to begin with, so she can't hide her feelings. You could tell she didn't want to be there.
Was it messed up that the montage they had before the match was more entertaining than the actual match?
With this match, no, that's a good thing. Especially considering this match was like 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sprint. This was basically 2 trained wrestlers against 2 fans.
Yes.
And for those of you that are saying Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler are trained, no, they were not trained. They went to the power plant for a week to learn how to bump. That's not training.
But she's a Hall of Famer. Tori Wilson's a Hall of Famer.
I'll spray you.
I know, right?
We've already determined that was a mistake. We've already done that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to spray the whole match here. I'm just going to spray the sluttiness out of this match. So help me out just spraying the sluttiness out of this match.
Yeah, God.
Because otherwise, while it was short, at least the story part was good. Good job, Lita. Good job, Trish Stratus, making this 2.5 minute schlock fest at least watchable. 1.5.
Yeah, that's exactly what I went. I went 1.5 on this because this was not like, oh my God. I mean, I have seen bra and panty matches where they actually, worked a little bit. They milked it. It would be like a good 10, 15-minute singles match. But this was just thrown together. This was filler.
And I'm going to say this. Because I've been pretty hard on women's wrestling because it's gone to aesthetics over athletics. Well, I'm going to also ask this question. Women, at least in tuxedo matches, the tuxedo is ripped off. In bra and panty matches, your shirt is just taken off. Why don't you put it back on? Reasons.
Yeah. And now we move on to the main events.
And this was actually a good main event.
Yes. The Alliance with the Dudley Boys, Diamond Dallas Page, Devon, Rhino was in there.
Booker T.
There we go. Sorry, my notes getting a little mixed up here. Taking on Chris Jericho, Kane, Kurt Angle, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker. Because we needed 10 men for this match.
Yeah, we didn't.
Oh, don't forget you had Shane McMahon, Paul Heyman, Stephanie McMahon out there, Vince McMahon out there, and every other McMahon or fan out there.
And they had Mike Chioda as the referee in the ring with Charles Robinson outside just in case. Now, they didn't need 10 men because this was a one-fall match, not an elimination match. So and the way they set it up, the graphics, is they had a tag team versus a tag team. Then they had a different thing to signify a singles than another tag team. So it almost made it look like it was going to be a 2 out of 3 falls overall thing. But no, it was a one-fall match, all 10 guys in the ring. This match was non-stop action. Not a single rest hold in 33 minutes.
This was go, go, go.
The crowd was hot, and at the end there was too much going on because Little Nate, Charles Robinson, took the last ride powerbomb and got rolled out of the ring. Good job, Little Nate. That was an excellent take of that powerbomb. People are rolling in the ring. People are rolling out of the ring. I don't remember. There was an interference somewhere along the way. And then Chioda gets hit and rolls out of the ring. Steve Austin comes back in the ring, kicks Kurt Angle, who's a part of his team, rolls Booker T on top of him, and Steve Austin turns in a 3 3/4 star match.
Yeah, I would definitely go with that. I went 3.5, but I can go to 3 3/4 because this match, had a great feel for it. The steady flow, it really pumped up the fans. They were into this. You didn't see a lot of empty seats. This was the main event. People stuck around because they wanted to see this match. This was definitely awesome to see.
This is an example of you can overbook a match, but it still works. Because if you add nonstop action where nobody gets to get a feel for what's going on, you can kill the pace and flow of the match. This one, they didn't do that. They were making sure when they overbooked it that people were out of there. So you never had more than 3 people actually doing something at the same time, which is the way you're supposed to do it. Because if you start having all these guys all fighting in all these different locations, you can't pay attention to what's going on. So good job, WWF, for overbooking a match, but doing it right.
Definitely. And that's the end of our show here. That was a pretty good card. I enjoyed it. You enjoyed it?
I enjoyed bits and pieces of it. The storyline, this invasion, it should have been a wrestling fan's dream. It was a nightmare when it was all said and done.
Yeah, but for overall, you enjoyed this?
But overall, it was okay. I would watch it again if I had to.
Well,
it's not like, XPW where I'm going to gouge my eyes out.
Well, I'm not going to keep you comfortable here because the next one we're getting ready to watch.
Oh, no.
Right there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you might want to grab your Captain Morgan for this one. See you next time, folks. I'm Dr. Quack.
And I'm going to get some Zoloft. We'll see you next time.